This is the actor, producer, and author, Rory Calhoun, sometimes called Smokey by his friends, perhaps because of his smoky gray eyes. During his movie career, he appeared in over 80 movies and well over 1,000 TV shows, mostly westerns. Rory Calhoun was born Francis Timothy Michael McCowan in Los Angeles, California on the 8th of August, 1922. His father, James McCowan, was believed to have been a professional gambler. However, he passed away in 1923 before his son reached his first birthday. After James's death, Roy's mother, Elizabeth Cuthbert McCowan, married Nathaniel Durgin, who moved the family to Santa Cruz, where young Roy would spend his youth. The family was extremely poor, and Roy's stepdad was a stern disciplinarian. He felt that his stepson was a troubled youth and sometimes used harsh punishment trying to keep his youngster in line. By the time he had reached his teens, he was out of control from stealing and in serious trouble with the law. In 1937, 15-year-old Francis Timothy Michael McCowan, the future movie actor Rory Calhoun, was incarcerated at the Preston School of Industry, a state reformatory for troubled youth, known as the Castle. Not long after his incarceration, he managed to escape, and he was soon recaptured, and a year and a half later, on September the 12th, 1939, he was finally paroled. Unfortunately, he started back to robbing stores and hot-wiring cars. Stealing an automobile and driving across the state line made it a federal offense. This time, he was caught and spent 3 years, 3 months, and 4 days in the federal youth prison in El Reno, Oklahoma. While serving time at El Reno, Roy had a change of heart and decided that he would change his attitude and try working for a living instead of getting into trouble. When he was paroled in 1943, he went to work holding several different jobs. For a short time, he had been working as a lumberjack. And in January 1944, when he was supposed to have been discovered by actor Alan Ladd, he stated on several occasions now that he was horseback riding in the Hollywood Hills when by chance he met Alan Ladd. They began talking, and Ladd asked him if he was an actor, and Roy said no, not knowing that Ladd's wife, Sue Carroll, was a Hollywood agent. Now this was the story that Hollywood cooked up for the public. What really happened was, Roy was like many other hopefuls, standing outside the studio gates, hoping to make a day's wages as an extra. Finally becoming acquainted with an agent that put him in contact with Sue Carroll Ladd's agency. From there, he was assigned an agent who was able to manage to get him a screen test and a short contract with 20th Century Fox under the name of Frank McCowan. Frank McCowan's first attempt at acting was an unaccredited role as the soldier in Something for the Boys that starred Carmen Miranda and Michael O'Shea. He next appeared in another unaccredited role in Sunday Dinner for a Soldier with Ann Baxter and John Hodak. In 1945, Frank McCowan will appear in his first accredited role, a Laurel and Hardy comedy entitled The Bullfighters. He'll have one line in the movie, his first speaking part. Around this time, Alan Ladd and his wife Sue Carroll threw a party to introduce Frank to their Hollywood friends. Henry Wilson, a representative of the David O. Selznick Company, met McCowan and signed him to a long-term contract. The first thing they did was change his name from Frank McCowan to Rory Calhoun. They first named him Troy Donahue but later decided that the name didn't fit. They later give the name Troy Donahue to another up-and-coming actor named Merle Johnson Jr. Soon after signing with Selznick, Rory Calhoun would get his first real break in a Bing Crosby production of The Great John L., starring Greg McClure and Linda Darnell. This is the first time the name Rory Calhoun will be given credit. He'll play a supporting role as Gentleman Jim Corbett, who defeats the champion bare-knuckle boxer John L. Sullivan. He also appeared in an uncredited role in Where Do We Go From Here, starring Fred McMurray. Also in 1945, he appeared in another uncredited role in Nob Hill. Roy is the boxer sparring with star George Raft. It was a natural part for Calhoun, as he had done some boxing in his past. He said he liked the money that he was making as an actor, but he always thought that acting was just a temporary thing, and thought it would be nice, though, to be able to go back to logging with money in his pockets. In 1947, he'll star with Julie London and Edward G. Robinson in a psychological thriller, The Red House. Roy will say that The Red House helped boost his career. The next year, on August the 28th, 1948, he'll marry actress Lita Barron. It'll be his first marriage and her only marriage. They met when Lita was performing a nightclub act at the legendary Hollywood nightclub Sea Rose, located on Sunset Strip. Lita was born in Spain, and her family moved to the United States when she was only 5 years old. She grew up as Isabel Castro. She was beautiful and became a talented singer and dancer, performing with Zazer Cougart's orchestra before landing a movie contract, and appearing in 12 movies and several TV shows through her career. The Calhouns will honeymoon in Northern California in a cabin at Arrowhead Lodge that belonged to David O. Selznick. Roy was 26 and Lita was 19. She had starred in That's My Baby in 1944, 4 years before she married Roy, under her birth name, Isabella. In 1946, she starred with Fred Colby in Don Ricardo Returns. In 1948, when she married Rory Calhoun, she was appearing in Jungle Jim as Xena. She was billed then for the first time as Lita Barron. 1 year after Lita and Roy's marriage, he was starred with his closest friend, Guy Madison, in Massacre River. Roy and Lita lived at 901 North Bedford Drive in Beverly Hills, close to Guy Madison and Guy's second wife, Sheila Conley. When Guy Madison passed away in 1996, Roy said, "We shared a lot of campfire together. There's another empty saddle now, and we were lifelong hunting and fishing companions and close neighbors." Roy was even godfather to Guy and Sheila's daughter, Bridget. In 2003, Bridget's son, Army Specialist Spencer T. Carroll, was killed in action in Iraq. In August of 1950, Calhoun signed a 7-year contract with 20th Century Fox. In 1951, he was assigned 3 films. One of these was I'd Climb the Highest Mountain. He was second lead man to Susan Hayward on that film. And in 1952, Roy would star in 2 major pictures, With a Song in My Heart, again with one of his favorite actresses, Susan Hayward. He said that Susan should have won the Academy Award for that picture. And he said he learned so much from this lady, and that she was a lady. She made acting, he said, look so easy. He said With a Song in My Heart was the best picture that he had ever made. Also that same year, he'll star in The Way of the Gaucho filmed in Argentina, and it will assure Rory Calhoun's position as a leading man. In 1953, he'll appear in the romantic comedy along with Betty Grable, Laura McCall, and Marilyn Monroe entitled How to Marry a Millionaire. 2 years later, in 1955, he'll co-star in a major film with Robert Mitchum and Marilyn Monroe, The River of No Return. He said that while filming, he had caught pneumonia and that Marilyn was the only one that would come around to see about him. His career was climbing upward and things were looking good. However, something happened that same year that could have completely destroyed his career. His agent, Henry Wilson, learned that Confidential magazine was preparing to release a devastating story on one of his major stars' homosexual activities, Rock Hudson. Wilson made a deal with the magazine to give them information on Rory Calhoun's criminal background if they would not publish the story on Hudson. When Calhoun discovered what Wilson was planning to do, he released his background himself. To his surprise, instead of destroying his career, it increased his bad boy image. And that same year, he starred in The Treasure of Pancho Villa with Shelley Winters. His wife, Lita Barron, also had an unaccredited role in that movie. The next year, in 1956, Roy will star with Martha Howard in Red Sundown. His wife, Lita Barron, will play his past love interest. Lita will retire from movies for several years after finishing Red Sundown. She'll continue to make TV appearances but will slow her career in order to raise her family. Their first child, Cindy, was born February the 22nd, 1957. Also in 57, Roy will write and produce Domino Kid with Christine Miller. In 1958, he will star and produce a TV Western series called The Texan on CBS for Desilu Productions. His wife, Lita Barron, will appear in 3 episodes of his series. The series will last for 2 years until 1960. During this time, he'll meet actress Bettina Marcus. They'll have a 7-month secret affair. And in December of 1958, Rory and his wife will have their second child, Tammy. The next year, on June the 26th, 1959, he will have a child with his love interest, Bettina Marcus, a daughter named Athena Marcus Calhoun. According to Athena, her mother, Bettina Marcus, was very independent and first refused help from her father. She filed a paternity suit in California Superior Court with stipulations that she could ask for child support at any time in the future. And it was not until 1966, when Athena was 7 years old, Bettina filed for child support. She was awarded an undetermined amount of money. When Athena was 17, her father acknowledged his daughter and formed a relationship with her. In 1960, Rory Calhoun will be honored with 2 stars on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. First for motion pictures, located at 7007 Hollywood Boulevard, and second for television, located at 1752 Vine Street. Also, he will star in Colossus of Rhodes, where Calhoun leads a group of slaves in a revolt, a huge difference from his westerns. The next year, on the 23rd of January, 1961, Lita and Roy will have their 3rd child, Lori. She was born at the St. John's Hospital in Santa Monica. 2 years after Lori's birth, Roy will star in A Face in the Rain with Martina Berti. And in 1964, filming will start on Young Fury. Starring with Calhoun was Virginia Mayo and William Bendix. On the 25th of August that year, he files for divorce from Lita Barron, and the couple separate. The next year, he'll play a cynical bounty hunter out to control a town in black spurs. After being separated from his wife for 2 years, in 1966, Roy and Lita will reconcile. But 2 years later, in 1968, the couple will separate again. And Rory will file for divorce on January the 24th, 1969. He will claim that Lita had an affair, and he asked for custody of their children, Cindy Francis, 12, Tammy Elizabeth, 9, and Lori Marie, 8. Lita counterfiled, accusing him of having encounters with 79 women, naming Betty Grable and Bettina Marcus along with 8 other named co-respondents, along with 70 or so other Jane Does. Roy's response was, heck, she didn't even name half of them. Divorce was granted 17 July 1970 after 21 years of marriage. Needless to say, she won custody of the children. Roy once stated, "You can't have an ego in this business. You have to stay humble." And he also said, "The more I make, the more alimony I get to pay." After Lita's divorce, she and her daughters moved to Palm Springs, where she will remain until her death. She will develop a successful real estate business, and she will date the likes of George Byrne and William Holden, but she will not remarry. On December the 16th, 2015, Lita Barron, movie star and mother, will pass away from complications of a broken hip at the age of 92. This statement was taken from a local newspaper article. She chose her time to leave this earth, doing it as always, her way. She was cremated and her remains were given to her daughters. The next year after his divorce from Lita, Rory will marry Sue Rhodes, a journalist, in April of 1971. Within a year, they'll have a daughter they'll name Rory Patricia Calhoun. Rory's good friend, Richard Egan, will become Patricia's godfather. Roy and Sue will remain married until 1979. That's the same year that Roy will star as a mafia capo who tries to destroy a local crime task force chief, not knowing that it's his only son, in Bitter Heritage. Roy will help former wife Lita Barron and his daughter Lori get parts in this movie. The next year in 1980, Smoke, as his family called him, will have the lead role in a horror comedy called Motel Hell, where he'll play a farmer, a butcher, and a motel manager who kills his motel customers and makes sausage out of them. 2 years later, Rory and Sue Rhodes Calhoun will remarry in 1982, and they'll remain married until his death in 1999. To my knowledge, she's not remarried. That same year in 1982, Smoke began starring in a CBS television series about the inner workings of Washington, D.C. It was called Capitol. The series will continue until March 27, 1987. While working on Capitol in 1984, Roy was asked to play Kit Carson in Hollywood's fantasy film Angel. In 1992, he'll be in his last professional movie, Pure Country. The movie was designed to feature the music of country music star George Strait. Although Smoke had a small part, some say that he stole the show. Although before the movie started, according to his daughter, he wasn't that familiar with George Strait's music. But he did bring home one of his tapes that he loved and thought was funny. All My Exes Live in Texas. Roy was already losing his health by the time filming started. He had diabetes and chronic emphysema. Smoke loved, she said, the sons of the pioneers, Johnny Cash and Willie Nelson. He even attended one of Willie's parties. 1993 was his final TV appearance in an episode of Tales of the Crypt. In 1999, Roy and Sue were living in Moreno Valley, California, when he had a severe attack of emphysema. He was taken to the St. John's Medical Center in Burbank. 10 days later, on the 28th of April, 1999, Francis Timothy Michael McCowan, the little boy that had such a rough start in life and ended up a major motion picture star, passed away from complications of emphysema and diabetes. Rory Calhoun was 76 years old. His remains were cremated and given to his family.